All right, West Virginia fans, the Pitt game is in the past. It was a great win. It was a great day to be a Mountaineer. It's a game that we're never going to forget, but it's time to shift gears. It's time to look forward to the next opponent, which is going to be the Kansas Jayhawks this Saturday. It's the Big 12 opener, and there's a lot of storylines that I'm looking forward to in this game. In this video, I'm going to break each one of those down. If you are a West Virginia fan, please remember to like and subscribe to JerseyEER. We've been putting out multiple videos a week of pregame shows, top storylines, postgame reactions, and all of that. So if you're a West Virginia fan, definitely like and subscribe to the show. Let's get into the list. So the first storyline that I'm looking forward to is Rich Rod's first game in the Big 12, right? So Rich Rodriguez, he had us on the verge of a national championship the last time he came. In 2001 to 2007, we had this thing rolling, and we were a national power. Now it's time for him to come back home and do it in a new conference, right? And the Big 12 looks a lot different than the Big East did. So this is going to be a chance for Rich Rod to show the Big 12 that this new look West Virginia team is here to stay. Even with 81 players, it's a chance to make a first impression and show that West Virginia is here to compete for Big 12 titles. So it's his first game in the conference. I think a lot of people are going to be looking forward to this game. I know we just had a big win versus Pitt, but now it's the conference is the most important thing, right? In order to make the college football playoff, in order to have national relevance, you have to compete for conference championships each and every year. They asked Rich Rodriguez before the season, what are your expectations? And he said, every year that I'm coaching, we should expect to compete for a Big 12 championship. So in order to do that, it definitely helps to win the first game. So to me, I think that this is a winnable game. I know the spread is around 11 and a half points, and some people have us as a huge underdog, but I believe that this is a winnable game, and this is a chance for West Virginia to show the rest of the Big 12 that this is not the same Neil Brown West Virginia, and that this team is going to look different by the way they play on the field and the way they carry themselves. So Rich Rod's first game in the Big 12 should be fun, and hopefully it ends for a win for West Virginia. So that's the first storyline that I'm looking forward to. Storyline 2, and it's something that we've talked about all off season, and that is Jamori Robinson, and he's finally eligible to play, right? So Rich Rodriguez confirmed it at his press conference. He confirmed it on his show. There was a chance he could have played last week, but that ultimately didn't happen. He did not play, but now he is going to play. So he's 6'4", 294, AAC Defensive Player of the Year, 10.5 sacks in 2024. He was a 4-star transfer according to 24 Sports, West Virginia's top piece in the transfer portal. And again, he has the NCAA rating on the video game as an 86 overall. Just a amazing guy off of the edge that can get after the passer. We're going to face Jalon Daniels, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. It is going to be extremely important to make him uncomfortable, similar to how we did to Eli Holstein. Having Jamori Robinson back in this game is a massive deal. Not sure how much he's going to play. I know Rich Rod said it might not be the full workload that he gets, but having him in on pass rushing situations is absolutely essential. And I'm looking forward to him to popping off the screen and making his presence known in his first game as a West Virginia Mountaineer. Now, do I think he can get 10.5 sacks at this point? I don't know. That'd be tough, right? Considering that you're already 3 games into your season and he hasn't played yet, and we're not sure what his volume is going to look like in this week's game. But if he's someone that can make his presence known and take on defenders, it's going to be massive. And, you have to think about this too. He could start having double teams be put on him, and that could free up other guys as well, especially when Zach Alley blitzes. I believe West Virginia right now is actually second in the country in sacks right now. So take that and then add this guy in there as well. It could be a very fun thing to watch, and it could be a big thing that people aren't talking about going into this game. So because we hyped him up so much in the offseason and because he is such a special player, I can't wait to watch him in his premiere on Saturday versus Kansas. I think he's going to have a good game, and I think he could have a good rest of the season for West Virginia. Let's talk about the next thing, and that is Trey Lathan going against his former team. So Trey Lathan is a solid player. He's someone that I wish we would have been able to keep because he was only a sophomore at the end of last year, and he's someone that always did the right things, and he's someone that played extremely hard. I think he's someone that would have fit in well with this system, but he ultimately decides to get a change of scenery after the coaching change. Seemed very loyal to Neil Brown, and he just felt like this was the better place for him. So he played in 22 career games at WVU, had some injuries that he was battling through, but when he was on the field, he was definitely productive. 2.5 career sacks, 112 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, and 2 forced fumbles at his career while at West Virginia. Struggled a little bit in the passing coverage game, but ultimately he was a solid player. He's off to a really good start this year with the Kansas Jayhawks, right? He's Kansas's leading tackler. He has 25 tackles, and 4 of those are tackles for losses. And he also is credited with a half sack. So, he is a very solid player. And like I said, I wish we could have kept him. I'm not gonna lie though, I hate playing guys that are former players against West Virginia. I really want to win this one just to beat him because you never want to see someone do better than the situation that they were just in, right? So I'm a Giants fan for some background, and obviously we had Saquon Barkley, and he looks to be the best running back in the NFL. And then even like Daniel Jones, watching him, what he's doing with the Colts is like, man, they all leveled up since playing with the Giants, like even like Xavier McKinney. So that's hard, right? It's like watching a girlfriend break up with you and then go do better things with the other person. You never want to see them do better than what they were doing with you, right? So I like Trey Lathan. I wish him well in his rest of his season, but I hope Saturday he has the L. I hope he loses to West Virginia, and I hope he regrets his decision a little bit about leaving, right? Because I think he could have been a solid player for Rich Rodriguez. So he decides to go to Kansas. So, like I said, good luck to him the rest of the season, but I hope his day ultimately ends up with an L on Saturday. Up next, we have which Jalon Daniels do we see? So, if you remember in 2022, Jalon Daniels basically had his breakout game versus West Virginia. West Virginia got out to an early lead at that game at home, and Jalon Daniels then just took over, right? 18 for 29, 219 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He also rushed the ball 12 times for 85 yards. Kansas won 55-42. It was an overtime game. I was at that game actually. It's one of the games I drove down to from New Jersey. And I remember leaving that stadium just like sick to my stomach that the defense looked that bad against Kansas. Now, that was kind of foreshadowing because that was a good Kansas team and they won, I believe, 9 games that year. So Kansas was a good football team that year, and they took the nation by storm. And they showed that they were a solid team on the rise. And the big reason for that was because of the play of Jalon Daniels. So then we play them again in 2024, and it's not the same look Jalon Daniels at all. 15 for 25, so the completion percentage was a little bit down. 184 yards of passing, a touchdown, and an interception. But the biggest thing was his rushing the ball, right? Only 7 carries for 11 yards. Not really great there. His team only put up 28 points, so half the points that they did 2 years earlier. He doesn't have Andy Kotelnicki, so that was a little bit of a regression last year. The first year that he didn't have Kotelnicki, he really struggled to kind of get going, and he did not look like the same Jalon Daniels last year. Now, if you look at the numbers this year, he's off to a pretty good start. 679 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions with a 72 completion rating. That's really solid numbers. So a lot of people think that this guy is back to his old ways and that he is going to be a dominant player. I think, in my opinion, though, if you look at all these years, and I'm not breaking any news here, this is going to be the best West Virginia defense that he's going to see in his time at Kansas's quarterback. So seeing what he has to offer on Saturday is something that I'm going to look out for. And it might be the biggest key to the game, right? If Jalon Daniels is on and he's hurting with his feet and he's elusive and he looks like the 22 Jalon Daniels, it might be a tough game. But if he goes back to the 2024 Jalon Daniels and takes a step back and he's not hurting us with the legs and there is that interception and then turnover-worthy plays, this could be a winnable game for West Virginia. So that's the next storyline I'm looking at is how does he perform against a really gritty and tough West Virginia defense. That should be a fun matchup on Saturday. And the next thing is just turning the page, right? This is an extremely tough schedule spot for West Virginia. They're coming off of probably the biggest win in 6 or 7 years, beating a hated rival Pitt. That took an extreme amount of energy, and it took a lot of emotion to come back in the game. You know, you're down by 10 points with about 8 or 9 minutes to go, and you go to overtime, and you ultimately win the game. So they're coming off of an emotional high. Then you look at Kansas. Kansas has a bye, right? So they had the tough loss to Missouri, which they looked pretty good in, and they have a bye and they have a chance. They have 2 weeks now to prepare for West Virginia, where West Virginia only has 1. So a lot of people are going to say that Kansas has the advantage here because of that bye week and they're home and all those reasons, right? And that's probably why the spread is what it is. But what happens if we look at it like the other way, though? What happens if, okay, this could be momentum for West Virginia, right? West Virginia really didn't find their offense until the fourth quarter of that game. I think that there's a chance that they could have found momentum in that fourth quarter, right? Nico had like the eye of the tiger and was so determined. And he started forcing the ball to his guys and getting it to them, and they made plays. Ty Edwards is a running back that we desperately needed versus Ohio. You know, he rushed for 150 yards last week. So he did that against a very athletic, a very good Pittsburgh defense. So our confidence should be even higher going into this game than it was the last game. So maybe instead of saying that we're going to, be in a hangover, what happens if it's a momentum ride, right? What happens if we take that momentum from the fourth quarter and the overtime and how well we looked because we scored on 3 straight possessions, and that carries over to the next game? And same thing with the defense, right? The defense really played really well. They're getting after the quarterback. A lot of guys are playing at a high level. What happens if they take that and say, we've passed all the tests, bring on Kansas, right? And then Kansas, yes, they have a bye, but what happens if they're a little rusty, right? They haven't played in 2 weeks. You just never know. So I know, like I said, a lot of people are going to say that's advantage Kansas, and, that could be true. But like you said, you never know in football. That's why they play the game. So it is a tough spot for West Virginia on the schedule. But let's see what they look like in quarter one, right? In quarter one, if they come out looking crisp and looking good, I don't think you have to worry about the hangover effect that people are talking about. And then that's it, right? So a short video. I'm going to have a video out later in the week, just previewing Kansas's team as a whole and what they bring. I think they're a talented team, and I'll give the 5 keys to what I think West Virginia needs to do to leave Lawerence with a win. Should be a fun game. Like I said, if you're a West Virginia fan, please remember to like and subscribe to the show. I'm really looking forward to this game, 6 o'clock on Fox Sports 1 on Saturday. Let's go Mountaineers. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you guys soon.